Good Monday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. This morning, crews in Fridley are battling an apartment fire. It's happening off East River Road near the Mississippi. Audrey Russo has the very latest.
You can see the crews packing up behind me here at the Estates at Fridley. This is an assisted living facility that around 5 o'clock this morning caught on fire. Here's what we know from the chief. I just spoke with him. He tells me that the calls came in around 5 o'clock this morning. When they arrived on scene, crews could see folks evacuating out of the building. When they got inside, they say the fire was contained to one room. They were able to extinguish it and get a lot of the residents of this facility back inside. Take a listen.
We found that the building was beginning to be partially evacuated, and that we did have smoke filling a corridor and a small fire that was limited to one room.
Now, fortunately, the building is livable. This fire, again, was contained to one room. Now, the fire chief said that he's still unsure whether or not there were any injuries. He said that there were some folks taken to the hospital as a precaution, and the cause of the fire is still under investigation. He said that could take some time to complete. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you. And we have more news out of Prior Lake from overnight. Right now, crews are working on hotspots at a mosque that caught fire just after 2 a.m. You can see heavy smoke coming from the roof there. The cause right now is under investigation. This morning, students at a Superior, Wisconsin middle school are learning from home after a man shot a police officer, drove through the front of the school, and barricaded himself inside. This happened just before 3 yesterday morning, just across the border from Duluth. Police say it started after they pulled the van over in connection to a domestic dispute. They say the driver got out and shot a semi-automatic rifle, hitting the officer. The officer and another officer returned fire, striking the suspect. That's when he fled and crashed into the middle school, barricading himself in a room for 4 hours before police arrested him. The Superior mayor says the officer's bravery saved lives.
This community is safe because officers were willing to take a bullet for the people of Superior. I will always be grateful for that.
Both the officer and the suspect are out of the hospital. Wisconsin's Department of Justice is investigating the shooting. Well, today, as federal immigration operations continue in the Twin Cities, several people will gather in Minneapolis for a rally in support of the Somali and Afghan communities. This comes as two families are figuring out what comes next after ICE raided their home in Burnsville. This is ring camera footage you're seeing right now, showing more than a dozen agents at a home in Burnsville. The family upstairs says they were able to prove that they're U.S. citizens, but they say the young couple renting the basement were stopped on their way home from the grocery store. The ring camera shows ICE arresting a man. They also arrested a woman leaving their 7-year-old behind. 2 other men were taken as well, one of whom has 2 children and a pregnant wife who saw all of it.
Ellos tras de que me abrieron la puerta, yo salí. Tras de que yo salí, ellos me estaban apuntando con las armas. Y pues mi hija estaba conmigo, el niño lo tenía dormido en mi hombro.
The family says out of the 4 detained, one person, the father of the 7-year-old, has a work permit and is talking with a lawyer. The pregnant woman also asked to remain anonymous and says ICE told her to self-deport. She's now caring for the 7-year-old who is without his parents. Well, as you head to lunch this afternoon, several community organizations will hold a press conference to talk about the conduct of St. Paul police during an ICE raid 2 weeks ago. The scene outside this home on Rose Avenue was chaotic, with protesters clashing with agents and police, and officers using chemical irritants on the crowd. The Department of Homeland Security says a man who's here illegally and is involved in a domestic abuse case was arrested. Mayor Melvin Carter also ordered a thorough review on the conduct of St. Paul police. The White House border czar Tom Homan is defending the Trump administration's immigration crackdown in Minnesota and the tactics agents are using. In an interview on CNN, Homan said ICE agents are prioritizing people who are a threat to public safety and says officers will be held accountable if they break the law.
And if any ICE officer, Border Patrol agent, acts out of policy or does something inappropriate, they'll be held accountable. But we got to remember, I mean, they're under attack, and we're at a place in this country where all of a sudden the ones who enforce the law are the bad guys, and the ones who broke the laws are victims.
He says citizens and permanent residents who are obeying the law have nothing to worry about, and that ICE agents are not targeting people solely based on appearance. This morning, the pressure to release the video of a September airstrike on an alleged drug boat is growing on Capitol Hill. Many critics now calling the second strike that killed survivors of the first hit a war crime. Meanwhile, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton defended the move, telling NBC's Meet the Press survivors were not incapacitated by the first strike. NBC's Alice Barr has the very latest.
Signs of an intensifying campaign against drug traffickers in the Caribbean, with the Trump administration sending more U.S. troops to Puerto Rico for training, and President Trump saying he may move from strikes on alleged drug boats at sea to land in Venezuela and other countries.
We know every route, we know every house, we know where they live.
The president overnight hosting the Kennedy Center honors as lawmakers sound off on the strikes.
They're unlawful, they're unconstitutional.
Zeroing in on the double tap back in September that killed 2 survivors of an initial strike. Congress is investigating, with many Democrats calling it a war crime and calling on the administration to release the video.
This video was profoundly shaken. And I think it's important for Americans to see it.
That amid new details about what Admiral Frank Bradley, who ordered the strike, told lawmakers in closed-door testimony. The admiral said he consulted with a military lawyer throughout the operation, and an official and a person familiar with the briefing told NBC News Bradley said the boat's cargo was bound for Europe or Africa, not the U.S. The sources also said military aircraft spotted the survivors waving their arms, Republicans defending the move.
It looked at one point like they were trying to flip the boat back over, presumably to rescue its cargo and continue their mission.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also justifying the campaign.
We will keep killing them so long as they are poisoning our people with narcotics.
And while President Trump said releasing the video would be no problem, Hegseth would not commit to it, saying the Pentagon is reviewing. A bipartisan group of senators is pushing a resolution aiming to block U.S. military action in Venezuela unless authorized by Congress. While the Republican chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee argued the president does not need congressional approval to continue the strikes on boats at sea. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, today in New York City, Luigi Mangioni's pretrial hearing is set to pick back up in just a few hours. The hearing comes about a year after Mangioni was accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. A judge will weigh whether or not key evidence seized after his arrest can be used in the murder trial. Mangioni's attorneys are challenging the way the evidence was obtained and are trying to get it thrown out of court. This morning, we are just 60 days away from the Winter Olympic Games in Milano Cortina, and more athletes are punching their ticket, including Minnesota native Jessie Diggins after taking third in the World Cup in Norway yesterday. She posted on social media saying the goal is to leave everything on the course, and she was proud to do that. This will be her 4th and final Olympic Games. And then in Kelowna, BC, the curling qualifiers continue today. Right now, Team Casper is tied for second behind the People's Republic of China. Their only loss right now. They take on Poland today. And then on the women's side, Team Peterson is tied for third with a 2-2 record after the weekend. They face Estonia today. Both teams hoping to grab the final 2 spots in their discipline. Right now, people are lining up at the Minneapolis Convention Center as volunteers prepare to hand out thousands of winter essential items. Michelle Beck tells us more.
Yeah, hey there. You know, the nonprofit that runs this is called Coated in Love, and there's clearly a reason why. Take a look at all these coats. These are several of a few thousand coats that are going to be handed out today. And look around the Minneapolis Convention Center, taking a look, a wide look this way here. It's not just coats, but also sleeping bags and hygiene kits ready to be given out from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Today's 5th annual event by Coated in Love will also include free haircuts, reading glasses, and warm meals. And that's on top of access to dozens of social services. And now as early as 4:30 this morning, we met with one person waiting outside in line, and he says he could use some new winter gear. Take a listen.
Right now I'm wearing an old coat that I've had for about 10 years, and I'm here at this event to get a new coat, hopefully something that's going to fit a little better, not so baggy. It takes out the big trouble of worrying about having to get a coat or worrying about having to get expensive boots for maybe snow removal or doing, everyday jobs or gigs. But for the most part, this event just gives me resources that I usually don't know about. So I think all in all, it's just a good resource just to come and just learn about things you don't know about the community, about the town.
Yeah, so this event is now in its 5th annual year, and this year they are expecting the most number of people. This year they're expecting about 4,000 people here, ready to receive some new coats and all of the above. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you. We have just over 2 more weeks until the week of Christmas, and people are cranking out their favorite holiday treats. Of course, in Minnesota, that includes lefse. Yesterday, dozens of people, not thousands, dozens of people got to learn to make the classic Scandinavian delicacy at Alleluia Lutheran Church in St. Michael. Their annual Lefsepalooza, the church's lefse experts teaching their secrets to making the fluffy flatbread.
Most lefse makers are happy to teach their skill because they want the tradition to go on. When we old-timers take a bite of lefse, we take that bite and we go, and it brings us right back to our childhood.
So on top of the new skills, people got to bring some lefse home. Stick with us, more news and weather coming up right after the break.